Hello and welcome to the North Bank podcast. I am your host Holly. I'm joined as ever by Stef and Chris. Hello guys.
Hi mate.
Good morning.
Is it though? Is it?
It's a better morning now than it was an evening yesterday. How's that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm still suffering the after impacts of getting in at 1:30, going to bed at 2:30. So
not easy being away end, Holly, is it?
No, especially when I was awakened at 5:45 this morning by enthusiastic 3-year-olds who missed me yesterday. But it's yeah. Anyway, but look, first thing I think I want to point out is I want to say well done to Sunderland. We did get a few Sunderland fans slide into our comments on YouTube. Very nice, very well-mannered, really decent folk. So I want to acknowledge that Sunderland played extremely well, and from their perspective, absolutely fully deserving of the draw from their perspective. The second thing I want to say follows on from that. This is not going to be a pod where we talk about how good Sunderland were. That's probably where we'll leave it. Now, it's an Arsenal pod. We're going to talk about why we think we didn't win the game, what we did right. It's going to be about us. But I just wanted to start off by acknowledging I was there, it was a great experience. The stadium's fantastic, the noise was great, the atmosphere was buzzing. Sunderland fans were extremely friendly before, during and after the game. I have no complaints whatsoever at all. But this is an Arsenal pod. We're going to focus on Arsenal from this point forward.
Just Steph, can I intervene, because I was there as well? Two things. Obviously, their remembrance tifo that they did was really quite impressive before the game. And although we won't be breaking it down with our usual 5 things, I just want to point out, and it's the last positive thing I will say, that Dan Ballard, former Arsenal Academy player, man of the match.
No, we'll come on to him.
He was mega.
Yeah, we will definitely come on to him because he was critical. 1 goal, 1 assist, and that ridiculous block at right of the death, which is that's the kicker for me. That moment there, as Dan. Shout out to Dan as well. Chauffeured me all the way to Sunderland and back again, and we didn't shut up the entire time. It was great. It was fantastic to catch up. But I will reference some of Dan's contributions at various points through the remainder of this podcast. But yeah, it was that. I think Dan said in the car, had that block shot gone in after we'd gone 2-2 in the 94th minute, he was saying league title. Just the positive, the psychological fillip boost that would have given us, but the flip side of that against Liverpool and City, perhaps, like, oh my God, how did they win that game? He's not saying that we're not going to win the league because we drew 2-2 or anything like that. It was just that maybe emotional, in the moment response to that happening, perhaps. But look, there are positives. So, Steph, I realise you just said that you're not going to be positive again, but there are positives as we sit on the precipice of another international break. We didn't lose. We've had an amazing run. We're clear at the top still, irrespective of what happens today. Just for reference, we're recording before lunchtime on Sunday morning, so we have no idea. The Liverpool City game kicks off at 4:30, so you guys watching and listening will know how that's played out, probably. I'm desperate for a draw. That's now desperate for a draw.
Should we make some predictions so people can laugh at what we think will happen?
Okay, 2-2 seems to be the result of the weekend. I'm going 2-2.
Really? I'm going 3-1 City.
Yeah, City are winning that one.
No,
I think.
we how I feel about the Sunderland result is on pause until the final whistle at the Etihad later on. If they draw, it's as you were, and I'm happy with that. Don't forget, we've just played away at the team in 4th place in the league, unbeaten at home, tails up, momentum, all of that. Second meanest defence in the league. These are the positives again. All the while, this amazing run, clear at the top, all the while without really integral players up front. And I think it's worth. I read the list of missing players 3 times in the previous pod, the preview pod. It's worth just mentioning them again. Havertz, Ødegaard, Madueke, Gyökeres, Martinelli, Jesus. We were shorn of all of those players for yesterday, all bar one for the Burnley game, Prague game, and most of those players for the last 4 or 5 games, and then some in the case of people like Havertz and Ødegaard. It's if you step back, I mean, I don't know about you two. I can guess. I would have bitten your hand off had you offered me this scenario at the end of the last international break, at the start of the season,
after the City draw.
Yeah, I'd have been thinking I'm in dreamland.
Yeah.
If this is the scenario that we were presented with, so why then, Steph, Chris? Why? And I'll refer to Dan again. We were chatting away in the car about anything to do with anything other than Arsenal, and all of a sudden he'd sigh and he'd say he'd interject with, "Why does it feel like there's been a death in the family?" And not to be hyperbolic about it, but I know exactly what he meant, because every now and then your mind would just drift back to think, "Oh, that's 2 points dropped." So why do I feel like that? Make me feel better, please.
Right. Well, I can't make you feel better, but I can hopefully go some way to explain why we have that feeling. And it's this thing of the micro, the very small, and the macro. That the macro is the bigger picture. We are top of the league. We are clear no matter what happens today between Man City and Liverpool. We have had a difficult start. We have had to put up with injuries. And we can still praise the fact that there was even a comeback in the game, okay? And that's all the macro stuff. You know, this team is still very, very, very good. And no one, you know, there are a few people with, you know, over-the-top hyperbolic head loss, but, you know, that's the emotion of what unfolded yesterday. However, and we were there sort of watching it unfold. When you go into the micro, when you just look at that 90 minutes... there are things that were troubling and annoying and frustrating, and some of which was out of our control, like you say, the injury situation, the way we play. I think that's the key factor. Yes, those are quality players missing, but those are also players who would give us such different dimensions to our play that means that it would have been a completely different game. It's not like we would have had direct replacements. We would have had Madueke who could take people on.
Yeah,
we would have had Gyökeres who could have
even without those players, on the balance of play, we should have won the game. We didn't create enough chances in that second half to win that game comfortably.
Right. So the main thing for me is the attitude and approach once we'd got that 2-1 lead. And this is why it feels like a death in the family. Because, right, do you remember the Brighton game last year when Declan Rice...
this is not the Brighton game for me.
No. I'm just going to talk about something...
I've literally just written that down. This is not Brighton or Fulham for me.
I'm just going to talk about something sort of stylistically or in terms of an approach. Declan Rice gets sent off. I feel like it was it in the first half or early second half?
Early second half.
Right at the beginning of the second half, yeah.
Right, so he gets sent off. We've got a 1-0 lead at that moment. And Holly, I remember, because you were there, stood in front of me, the thing that frustrated you the most is that we accepted that was that. That it was going to be 1-0 and we were going to defend that lead. And Brighton are no mugs. And they came at us and all we were doing was inviting chance after chance after chance. Yep. I saw that same pattern yesterday. We'd done so well to come back into the game. It was such a poor first half. Arguably, understandably, 3 away games in a week, the same personnel, very little we can do to change massively. But there was an acceptance that, okay, we've got the 2-1 lead, let's accept it. So then we just became slightly defensively.
Okay, can I play devil's advocate a little bit, just on what you've just said? Why wouldn't we? And I'm going to come back to the substitutions. I'm going to come back to that. We'll go into that in a lot more detail. But just off the cuff, intuitively, right now, why didn't we? Why shouldn't we rely on our strength this season? Why shouldn't we back ourselves in the 75th minute?
No. Right. So again, it goes back to what I said before. just because we're good at defending doesn't mean we're a defensive team. Lots of this 8-game winning run without conceding shots on goal, let alone goals themselves, is because we play with a high line, because we press from the front, because we're able to strangle teams and stop them coming onto us. By accepting that and stepping back, playing a deeper line, actually, it just raises the amount of times that Sunderland can get crosses in, can get shots in, can cause a little bit of chaos in the box, and it showed, And I have ultimate sympathy for the team. They really haven't put a foot wrong, and I'm not going to lose my mind over it. We are still in an incredibly strong position. I just wondered if that was it felt like the wrong approach watching from the stands yesterday, that we could have been a little bit more aggressive.
We will go. We will pick this apart in a lot more detail. I've actually gone through the incidents in the game in the second half, predominantly. But Chris, I know you didn't see the game live. You did see the highlights. What's your so you've got a slightly, as you said, a more objective view, perhaps, as much as an Arsenal fan can. You've got distance between. You weren't invested in it in the moments as such. What's your kind of sense then?
Well, I was invested in so far as I was bowling with some old college mates, like 10-pin bowling.
Well, like just walking down the street like that.
Yeah. And I was sort of very secretive, checking my phone for the scores, and we were 1-0 down, and I thought, okay, just enjoy the evening. And then I checked my phone, and it was 1-1, and then I checked again, shortly afterwards, and it was 2-1, and I was just bottling it up, just so excited, thinking this is it, this is so seismic, and then it conspired that pretty much all the other blokes in the group were also invested in the game and were checking their phones secretively as well. So at the end we were all like, oh no, opportunity missed. It felt like a huge deflation, as it must have done. And if you've come down from 2-0 down to draw 2-2, it's a completely different vibe. It felt like an opportunity.
Do you think so? Do you actually think it's an opportunity missed? Like the following morning, do you still think it's an opportunity missed? If you look at the cold hard facts of the game in so far as Sunderland, they just beat Chelsea at Chelsea 2 weeks ago.
Look, and as you said earlier, all credit to them, but their 2 goals came from defensive lapses. We set out with, the irony is we've got attackers missing, and yet our attack delivered yesterday. Ultimately, they delivered.
Sunderland only had 2 shots on target.
Right, but look at the quality of our goals.
That's not true. That can't be true. That's what the BBC stats say. But Ryan made 2 big saves in the right at the end of the second half.
Yeah.
I assume it literally just means about on target. So they've looked at the trajectory of the ball or something like that.
Oh, does a save not automatically?
Well, it doesn't. No, if it's going wide, it doesn't count as a shot on target if he saves it or not.
Yeah, surely.
No.
So I don't know because as the BBC stats I've gone on, and I'll read them out in a minute, but they've said 2 shots on target for Sunderland. So I've circled it because they scored 2 goals from 2 shots on target, but I'm confused now because Ryan definitely made a couple of saves at the end. Whether they were actual shots or not, or was it like a cross ball in and he clawed it away, or I don't know.
Like the Eddie Nketiah one.
Yeah,
but
true.
My point is that I feel like we can be more critical of the defence. I don't want to hammer them, but it just felt like there was a fatigue there. From what I could see, there was a fatigue in those moments, those crucial moments. And if we'd just managed to, it's all ifs, buts and maybes, but it just felt from watching it, particularly at the end there, we'd just kind of run out of gas, it looked like. And I know we'll come on to the substitutions.
Or lack
the whole timing of feeling like we just had this one game to get over, get through, to just complete this batch of games, get our injured players back. All that emotion is tied into how we feel, is because we just felt one last push to get past this one. We're 2-1 up, 7 minutes into injury time. That's the real kicker.
Okay, I absolutely can't argue with that. We'll talk about the substitutions and the timing, or the substitution and the timing of it, and the nature of it, and the absence of anything else. But I'll run through the stats. So we had 65% possession. Our XG was 2.09, and from open play, it's probably the highest proportion that I can recall. It was 1.74. We only had 2 corners in the game. And I read today, I didn't realise that Sunderland move the hoarding boards nearer to the edge of the pitch to prevent. I'm not aware that we actually do a lot of long throws or benefit a lot from a long throw. I'm not sure that we have done. I think that's a kind of a misrepresentation in the media that we're like the corner kick, set piece, fine, yes, of course, but not from the long throw. But anyway, Sunderland actually benefit from the long throw at least more than us, I would have said. Anyway, Sunderland's XG was 0.44, from open play was 0.31. They had 6 shots, 2 on target, and there's a good question mark over that. And we had 17 shots, 7 on target. What I didn't look at is the half-by-half breakdown, because I'm pretty sure that most of those, like 90% of those shots and attempts on goal came in the second half. So based on what you've both said, I was going to ask the question, what was behind that first half performance? It can't be fatigue, and I say it can't be fatigue because of the second half performance. It wasn't a whole game like that. It was yin and yang of football, of two halves. It was a game of two halves from our perspective. We were so, as bad as we were in the first half, we were superb in the second half. So I've written down credit Sunderland ? For our first half performance, because they went out to rattle us, and they did. I mean, I don't have the stats because I was at the game and I couldn't see a clock from where I was, but it felt like the first 15 minutes of the game, we spent at least half of those minutes with players receiving treatment. So, I don't know, Steph, you were lower down than me. I was right at the back, second row from the back. So,
you say
how
lower
did
down.
It feel? Yeah.
I mean, it's at
how
Sunderland.
Did it feel to you? So, what do you put? What excuse or reasoning do you place behind our first half performance?
Again, I think it has to be about credit to Sunderland. I thought they, like you say, their game plan was about disrupting our lines of passing, our way to progress the ball forward, the second balls that if we did end up going long and try and hit Marino, then they were there to just kind of snuffle everything out. It also, we'd sort of noticed at some points that sometimes we would go long and we were targeting, I can't remember the name of one of the other central defenders, but he was a little bit hesitant with the ball in the air. He sometimes would let it bounce, and that would obviously give us an opportunity to get in there as well. But we did that sort of very little, to be honest. So really it was about them disrupting what we could get going. And I've said previously that, especially this season, we said it about the Fulham game, we've said it about a couple of other games as well, that actually the first halves have been a little bit meh, to be honest. And it's like we're trying to gauge the opposition. And I think actually of all the teams that we have played from that first half, that was the hardest of all the teams we've played to overcome.
What about the absence of Gyökeres? His profile as a striker, that must have made a difference as well, because we're not occupying their central defence in any way.
In a completely different way. Marino's not even a striker, and even the kind of striker he plays when he's put in that role, he's just, he's trying little flicks, and he challenges in the air, but not with the same level of physicality and aggression that Gyökeres does. And it just changes the nature of the way we play. It's more of that sort of patient build-up from deeper. And with a huge lack of movement, even trying to run in behind like Gyökeres does, it makes it difficult to force them back a little bit further. So, yeah, it was hard going in that first half.
I don't know, Chris, if you've seen enough of the first half to kind of comment on that. What
no, I just saw
performance.
No, I mean, just from the highlights, I saw the Saliba's glaring error miss. When he had it, a great chance. But I take what you say. I could, from the second half, I could just see an intensity that obviously wasn't there in the first, and when we turned it over, when Rice robbed that, I don't know if that was the same centre half you're talking about, but it dispossessed him, and it just showed an intent, didn't it? And
we'll
prior to that as well, when Saka dragged the shot wide.
We'll talk. As I said, I've gone through the second half in a lot of detail. Ballard's goal, I see a lot of people giving credit to the touch and the finish, absolutely, but at the time, in the moment, it's right below where we were stood, and in the moment, before Ballard had gone on and shot, I said out loud to anybody who was like around, I said to Rice, play the ball. I shouted, because he played the man, not the ball, and he lost that duel, and that cost us the goal at that point. Now, Ballard had a lot to do, like it proper centre forwards play once that happened. So that's the first kind of kudos to Dan Ballard on the day. He's a physical specimen. He's a beast. And I think James Benge on X or Blue Sky saying that he heard someone describe Ballard when he was at Arsenal as he'd put his head in a lion's mouth if it meant he could clear the ball, and that's very much the. And I did flag him up in our preview pod. I did talk about Dan Ballard. I did say that his mentality is something else. That to have been rejected and released by Arsenal twice and come back to Arsenal to prove them wrong, like that's pretty impressive. I haven't heard of another player who's done that. I've heard of players being released and gone on to other clubs and been taken on, but not back to the same twice, So fair play, and I'm delighted he celebrated his goal. Good on him. Like that must have meant so much to him.
I don't know if you guys have had a chance, by the way, to see what led to their goal, but
was it a free kick?
No free kick, and no yellow.
But that was our discussion. Yeah.
Well, it was no free kick, but when it's given, you reset and you defend.
Yeah.
So it's frustrating that. Zubimendi did not deserve a yellow for that at all.
Yeah, no, I saw. We debated that from where we were, but of course I haven't seen that challenge again, so I didn't know. Go on, Steph.
Oh, I was just going to say, so the first goal kind of sums up what I was saying about the whole being in the moment and then trying to step away. So when that goal goes in, you said about Rice playing the man. Well, I thought he was being held by the Sunderland player and that it was a foul. And I was sort of like a bit indignant about it. But that's me in the stadium, in the emotional sort of moment and worrying about it. Seen it since. No, it's nonsense. It's just a tussle, isn't it? He's got to be stronger and cleverer. And so it's that thing of, there'll be a lot of people who have said a lot of things yesterday in the heat of the moment, but cold light of day, actually, that's fine. And like you said with the Zubimendi incident, I don't think Pawson got any major decisions wrong yesterday, but I think he got lots of decisions wrong yesterday. Little moments in the game where he would fuss about where a throw-in was taken at one moment, and then he would let the Sunderland keeper, when there was a foul, I don't even think it was a foul.
It wasn't,
Right, literally by the touchline, and then throw it to the edge of the penalty box to have a kick. It's just tiny noise by it. But the worst one is towards the end of the game when Eze and a Sunderland player go for the ball. Eze is in a headlock. So the Sunderland player's got Eze in a headlock, and he gave a foul to Sunderland. There was something about... I don't know. It was just bizarre.
I did. Yeah, there were a couple of decisions he made, and I turned to Dan and said, "That's a home decision. That's a home ground decision." So he's a referee that struggles to remain objective. He gets, and I think our 2 yellow cards were indicative of that. That was. I'm like, that's not never.
But he's not made. I'm not going to sit here and say he's affected the result. He didn't.
We didn't lose that game.
No, there are even some people talking about.
We didn't lose the game.
Yeah, we didn't lose the game, exactly. But it feels like it. Even there were some people talking about the equaliser goal right at the end, the potential for a foul in there, and there really isn't. There's David Raya goes for a ball that he shouldn't go for because the Sunderland. Oh, sorry, go on. You were going to get to it.
Yeah. Well, anyway. I've gone through the second half in a lot of detail. Unusually for me, I like to keep it more kind of generic. But I think because I was at the game and a lot happened in that second half. A lot of positive happened in that second half, and I just wanted to focus on that. My message to the group at half-time, among my messages to the group at half-time was the following one. We can't play as bad as that again, and they can't keep that up for the whole game. And all I wanted was more urgency. And I think Declan, I was going to say David Rice, who's he? Declan Rice grabbed the game by the scruff of the neck. It was so clear that he was the driving force. And even before he dispossessed the player for the Saka goal, Eze had a shot blocked. Zubimendi had a tame effort saved. Saka dragged a shot wide. we were creating. This is all in the first 6 minutes of the second half. We'd 4 opportunities, and then we scored, and Rice dispossessed. And they were, you mentioned it a minute ago, Steph, they were a bit jittery in possession at the back. Even in the first half, there were a couple of occasions where they got fumbled the ball a little bit. And if Marino was further forward, where Gyökeres would have been, we would have been able to been in a better position to take advantage of more of those situations. But we played a lot higher tempo. I thought Eze was really poor in the first half among the rest of the team, it has to be said. I thought he was a lot better in the second half. And he had a couple of chances. I wanted more from him. Me and Dan both commented that Ødegaard slips straight back into that team in that position. And Eze's had a great opportunity to make that a very difficult decision for Arteta. And in my opinion, Eze's not done enough to make that a difficult decision. In my opinion, Ødegaard drops straight back into that role. Now, I'm not saying Eze comes out of the team, but we'll come on to Trossard in a minute, because the only other place Eze will find himself in the team is in Trossard's position. And unlike Eze, Trossard has made that a difficult decision for Arteta, because ridiculously for me, Chris, you ready for this?
Go on.
My man of the match was Trossard. Like, I thought he was superb. Like, you wanted a player to step up. Wow, he stepped up in that second half. He created so many opportunities, and Calafiori played his role as well. Calafiori frustrated me in a few moments that he got into great positions, but cut back a little bit on his, from his left foot. And he was unlucky at the very end with his header as well. I thought him unlucky. I thought he could have done a bit better with the header. But anyway, so then Saka scored. Rice after the Saka goal, Eze had another effort. Zubimendi again. Then he hit the crossbar. That was unlucky. I couldn't believe that. I was like, Chris, I just had your words swimming around my head. We'll rue these missed chances.
Not our day.
Not our day. Yeah, not our day. Absolutely. And then Trossard in the 74th minute. Wow. Like, I couldn't believe it had gone in. Like, I thought, wow. But Calafiori... props to Calafiori, because he created a space for him. He did the overlapping run again, which he did a lot of times without receiving the ball. He did it again, and the defender, whoever he was, took a step. It was funny watching if you watch the defender in that moment, he sees Calafiori. He's close to Trossard, so there's no danger there. He sees Calafiori start to make the run. He puts his arm out to the right, pointing to the defender behind him to say, follow Calafiori, but because he hasn't turned around, he doesn't know that's happened, so he has to take a step back to cover the Calafiori, a potential pass into Calafiori, even though his mate behind him's got that covered. He doesn't know that, but that step back allowed Trossard to step inside and unleash a rocket into the back of the net, which was still rising as it hit the back of the net. 74 minutes. That was the end of the game.
Yeah.
Like,
should have been,
So, how are you feeling, Steph, at the moment? I know what you wanted. I turned around to Dan and I said, we need to go for the third now. We need the third. That was like, we weren't as solid defensively in this game as we had been in all our previous games. I didn't feel as confident. So, how are you feeling, Dan, where you were?
Well, at 74 minutes, it was absolute delirium. When that goal goes in by Trossard, it was like, okay, we've done the hard bit now. We're playing so much better. We're creating chances. There was even one half chance that trickled along the goal, and if someone had gambled, it was just there for a tap-in. Again, you've got to think about Gyökeres in that situation. And I thought...
Declan Rice. What about Declan Rice when he went for did you see that on the highlights, Chris?
No.
Declan Rice took a shot from just inside the Sunderland half to try and lob the keeper, who was way out of goal. But he had Trossard running outside him on the left, and it would have been like a 2-on-1. Yeah. And he kind of cut across it a bit too much, and it drifted. And he had the goalkeeper was worried. Like it was at 3-1 up, it's worth a go.
Yes.
At 2-1 up, get the third goal.
But ultimately, what I wanted us to build on is not necessarily just all-out attack, but that defending from the front a little bit more. You talked about Rice was making better interceptions and tackles further up the pitch. What we then did after the 74th minute was go, okay, right, we'll step back a few yards. And all that did was gave Sunderland the impetus. Like you say, they weren't as confident in possession in those defensive lines. So that's where we needed to maybe target a little bit more. Because then if they go long, that makes our defenders' jobs and the midfield job a little bit easier because, you've got a higher chance of getting the ball. But by just stepping back those few yards, then you make it very difficult. And I know we're going to get onto substitutions, but it might not even be the substitutions people are thinking of. I think a lot of people are talking about, well, Saka was dead on his feet and, Rice was struggling and this, that and the other. But actually we had the opportunity to make defensive substitutions. You could bring a Norgard on who can, you can say, go and snap into some challenges, go and make your presence felt. Nkapie is the same. And we only made the one. So it was just frustrating the way the mindset shifted.
Can I ask you two? I'm not 100. I think this is what happened, but I'm not sure. Did Mosquera slip into a back three?
I couldn't particularly tell from where I was.
I'd create any ideas. I couldn't work out because it was
to confuse matters more than it solved.
Well, no, see, this was my problem. It was the disorganisation that occurred. I thought, what's he doing now? Just one thing before we get onto the subs, because I just want to say about Trossard. That's 4 goals and 4 assists this season. He's our top combined goal contributor this season. And I'll hold my hand up. I said he should never start a game again. But in the absence of all those other players, then of course I understand. I picked him in the starting 11, and I wouldn't have put anybody else in his place, like any other available player in his place. But you have to still give him credit. He knew he had a starting position, and he knows that Havertz, Gyökeres and Madueke come back, and Martinelli, bloody hell, come back, and Trossard's third choice left-sided player. But he's not. I'm not sure everyone's fit, and Trossard doesn't start the next game. Mm-hmm. I think he's done, and that's fair play to him. Chris, you're on mute.
Bugger, sorry. Yeah, I don't think Arteta will view him as a third choice.
No. So well done to him. Well done to him. Me and Dan sat there watching this substitution. It was in the 88th minute. We knew there was going to be a decent lot of injury time. So on the 88th minute, we were thinking there's still 10 minutes to go. That's a large portion of the game still to go. Dan's response to the sub was he understood it. He got it. And I understand this kind of, we're going to get the high ball and we're going to be bombarded and all of that. My issue was it lacked, I didn't think of the disorganisation to begin with. That only happened as the game continued to play out in front of me. My issue was that we lacked any impetus going forward. So I was thinking someone like keep Eze on, get Marino off, and bring someone like Miles Lewis-Skelly on into midfield. Not Norgard, but Miles Lewis-Skelly, who has got the defensive nous, but really good at carrying the ball forward and kind of getting us to step up further forward, and to play the game back in Sunderland's half of the pitch. Just because we were 2-1 up, it's funny the psychology of the game, but just because we were 2-1 up didn't mean we had to sit back onto the,
that's what I said,
8-yard box. And it's like I didn't understand it. It was still a kicker when it happened, but and evidence of how we brought this on ourselves is what happened after they scored the equaliser. Well, it was just us. We had 2 or 3 opportunities in the remaining 3 minutes to score. And if that game had gone on another 5 minutes, we probably would have scored. And it's really frustrating because their first goal was in the 36th minute. That was the end of them as a threat until the 75th minute. It's like we had no control in the first 36 minutes. We were playing very disjointed, no urgency, no fluency, making lots of errors, unforced errors, forced errors, whatever. It was difficult. It was a difficult watch. It wasn't reassuring. It was very bitty and stop-start, and they were clearly getting physical with us, which is fine. No, I'm not complaining about that. And we stood up to that. It was fine. We know we stood up to that because of what happened after the 36th minute. But they scored a goal, and okay, we didn't go at them with the urgency, but we had our best chance of the half after they scored their goal in those final moments. But that urgency was evident from minute 1 of the second half. And I said to Dan, we can tear this team apart. Forget about the missing players. Look at how we started this second half. Where the hell was that at the start of the first half? Why does the first half need to be a bit cagey? If there is a criticism of Arteta, that would be it for me, as well as the in-game management. But I think he's been really good at that this season, and I was a bit surprised that yes, Saka was dead on his feet. You could see that. So bring Max Dowman on. I don't know, but I wouldn't have brought Max Dowman on. But if he is completely dead on his feet, then he's not an outlet. So get someone on who can carry the ball forwards. So like a Miles Lewis-Skelly. I don't know who else was it. Norgard. Where I wouldn't. Norgard would have. Marina would have been the one I hooked anyway. He would have been the one I took off. I would have kept Eze on just because he can retain possession. He can retain the ball. I mean, Marino can as well, I guess. But he's got more offensive capabilities to his game. Eze has. But
well, interesting that Arteta. I know you mentioned it earlier, but credit to Sunderland. He sort of added that onto his explanation as to why we found it difficult. He just kept coming back to credit Sunderland. So I do agree. We do start a little cagily sometimes, but I do feel like they were so at us that probably put us out of our rhythm, and it needed a half-time team talk to bring everyone back to their kind of okay, let's play our game.
And fair play to Arteta and fair play to the team's response to whatever Arteta said at half-time. It was a completely unrecognisable performance in the second half as to what we just witnessed in the first half. Do you know? I'll be honest with you. I haven't read or listened to anything Arteta said. Chris, what was his kind of reaction to the game?
It's the general gist is that there were defensive lapses uncharacteristically for us, and that it's a shame that we've lost this record. It was clearly something that not played on the players' conscience, but they were, it was something to go for. It was there within their grasp, and I think the first goal would have deflated them a bit. It's like we've lost that record, but second half, like I said, he probably rattled them a bit in the changing room, and they got out and played their game more. But he was definitely coming back to Sunderland as being a reason, and giving them credit for the way they held us at bay. Yeah.
Steph,
he also sort of alluded, and it's why we can't, stepping back and looking at the wider picture, you can't be too disappointed, because sometimes these things happen in football. We had that XG busting game against West Ham a couple of years ago where, we had a gazillion shots and they still won 2-0. But so this game had an element of that when you look at it statistically. But for me, the annoying thing, and Arteta kind of alluded to that sometimes, a team has 2 shots on target and they both go in. That can happen. And yet we did still create enough chances. And on another day, Zubamendi's shot that hit the bar goes in, and Calafiori does more with that header and it goes in, and we're talking about a slightly different game. So, these things can happen. But what annoys me is not even the psychology of the first part of the game where Sunderland were at us in those first 34 minutes. It's the psychology after. We'd got ourselves into the game. We'd stamped our authority on the game, got the lead, and now it was like, okay, now Sunderland, if you want to play your game, you can do that. So why we relinquish that, I don't particularly know.
Yeah, just keep doing what you've been doing.
But at the same time, it was around that time that Sunderland made a triple substitution. Yeah. And I know it's a very reductive thing to sort of say, fresh legs, but ultimately, fresh legs. We'd played pretty much the same starting 11 for 3 games in a row, 3 away games in a row, all with their own sort of difficulties, albeit all games that we would be favourites, obviously, to win. But no one was thinking of Sunderland as a complete walkover. They're a team who are in the top 4. Their confidence is so high at the moment, and their crowd are so supportive that it was always going to be very difficult. So to have got in that position, that's why it just feels that little bit sort of frustrating. Because, like you say, even when they score their goal, we go down the other end. It's like, okay, it was a psychological thing. It was a kind of acceptance that we've got the lead. Okay, you come on to us, and it just felt like inviting the wrong kind of pressure. But we could have made, like you say, defensive substitutions. Lewis-Skelly, yeah, exactly. Someone like him, Norgard, Nkapie, those were players to come on and shore things up without throwing in the chaos of Mosquera on for a striker.
And he did nothing wrong, Mosquera,
no,
by the way.
He didn't.
He did nothing wrong. It's just that he for me, he was the wrong sub. I've just looked it up. They'd made 4 subs before we brought Mosquera on. So that's not quite, but it's 40% of the outfield players had fresh legs, and at a time where we were feeling it.
Yeah, exactly.
Because we're playing the same players all the time.
Yeah, yeah.
Is it only? I know Eze and Zubamendi didn't start in Prague, but the rest did. And it's the concentration. I mean, that Prague game was a tough game as well. I know we ran out 3-0 winners, but that first half was particularly intense physically as well, and a hostile environment. It just, mentally take a lot out of you also. And travelling, as I'm feeling this morning after having travelled 270 miles in the car.
Welcome to my world.
Late into the night. Thank you. That was my first away game I think Baku was my last away game.
How did you find it?
I mean, look, it was catching up with Dan as well, so it was great. But in terms of just purely football, in football terms, I loved. I mean, I've been to. I can't count how many away games I've been to. I've never been to Sunderland before. Obviously, been to Middlesbrough and Newcastle. Shout out to a really bizarre lobster restaurant that we went to before the game. We didn't set out to find a lobster restaurant. It was the only restaurant that we could find, and we were there about 4 hours before kickoff. But it was like a throwback. They had 80s hits, Starship and Bryan Adams blasting out, carpet on the walls. Strange setup, and the most pricey menu I've ever seen. I didn't get lobster. don't agree with lobster, but so yeah, shout out to that. So, but again, the atmosphere in the concourse beforehand was absolutely bouncing.
It was bouncing.
It was really, really like.
And it was very different to Burnley the week before. Burnley was
you said
fine,
that.
But it was a bit, slightly muted. I don't know if something had happened because of the Burnley victory and then the Prague victory and all these clean sheets. There was a certain, there was a new energy. And it made me think, and this is why it's slightly frustrating because of the result and the way it unfolded. Look, we could draw at Sunderland, that's no problem. But obviously, injury time equalisers will deflate you. Yeah, exactly. But I got a sense, it reminded me of when we kicked off like 3 years ago. And all of a sudden, it was like really buoyant. There was something slightly exciting about it.
In the air.
Something in the air. Phil Collins style, yeah.
The eagle-eyed of you may notice that we 3 have become 2. Chris has had to depart. He's off on a prior engagement. Enjoy that, Chris. We're probably nearly done. I do want to just reference the final opportunity that we had, the gilt-edged opportunity, which would have put a completely different complexion on everything. And again, I'll reference Dan's words. And he was speaking in the moment. Had that Gabriel block shot or the header, Calafiori header gone in, either one of those two gone in, and we'd won that game 3-2 after being pegged back in the 94th minute to 2-2, he just said that was the league title. Now, I know he was kind of exaggerating a little, but that's how it felt, that it would have been such a kicker to our rivals as well as a fillip to us, a shot on the arm to us. So have you watched it again?
Oh, God, no.
Oh,
No,
I've seen
not.
I caught the Arsenal.com put out a minute and a half, 2 minute highlight. So I watched that about an hour ago, bravely, and the Calafiori header. It was almost point blank. I mean, keeper made himself big, got in the way, and it bounced off him, and then Gabriel.
Yeah,
a bit more finesse, perhaps.
Yeah.
And it goes in, and that would have been lift off, and I think that's the chance that it's not the equaliser that sticks in the throat a little bit. It's that missed chance there. It's not even the crossbar effort. It's not even the decisions and so on. You're going to get difficult away games in this league. It's like, and away to the team after 10 games who are fourth suggests that they're on good form.
Yes, 100%.
And they're unbeaten, so it's not like...
I've heard people saying, Arsenal, I think it's the first drop points away to a newly promoted side since we lost to Nottingham Forest 2 or 3 years ago, 1-0. And so we've obviously had a good record. But actually, I don't equate this Sunderland with your average promoted teams. You know, they've invested heavily.
They were the pre-season favourites for relegation. Now they will not go down.
But
they will not go down.
On paper, they are newly promoted. But when you compare them to the newly promoted sides of the last 2 years, it's night and day. They are streets ahead in points and in performance and all those sorts of things as well. So, you know, this is still a very good result. When you take our results against, you know, teams in the top 6 on the day, it's still pretty good. Although obviously we've dropped points to City and Liverpool. So we're taking care of all the other teams, as it were. And that's why it's hard, isn't it? Because I still feel the emotion because I was there and watching it. But stepping back, we still created lots of chances. We still showed a guile to come back into the game and character. So.
Yeah, no, absolutely. There were, as I started this off with the list of the positives, we were 1-0 down in the game, playing terribly, away from home to a top 4 contender, and we turned it around. And we didn't just kind of fortuitously turn it around. We fully deserved at least a 2-1 lead at the point we got the 2-1 lead. And there's no other fan that would contest that. Yeah. It's what happened after the 74th minute that kind of sticks. Between the 74th and the 94th minutes, we kind of ceded that momentum, the what do you call that? The
initiative.
Impetus. The impetus, the initiative, all of absolutely. And then when they scored the equaliser, we got it back again. Like that. It's like we flicked a switch. So it was there the whole time. And that's the frustration. There was one very nervy moment, and when we had it was 2-2, and we had a corner or something. It must have been a corner because everybody was up in their box, and there was a clearance, and Rice slipped, and he was the last man, but the Sunderland crowd went mad, like, go on, like this. And I looked, I didn't realise where Raya was. Raya was nearly next to Rice. Like, if Rice hadn't recovered himself, recovered his footing, that bloke would have had he would have had a half the length of the pitch shot into an empty goal. Right, I was like, oh wow, okay. If you can't win the game, don't lose it.
Well, that's it.
You know.
Yeah.
So you're still heavy.
I am a little bit. Yeah, it's frustrating, isn't it? Because we're spoiled. At the end of the day, we are spoiled, and we haven't had to deal with that kind of setback. And so, you know, fair play to Sunderland, but also, you know, well done to us for coming back into it, because I didn't see that level of improvement after the first half. Because one of the things I was going to talk about was also, we had a couple of conversations at half time. A friend of mine who was with Nathan, he said, we will be better in the second half. And I was like, I'm not sure where we're getting. But then he was also quite critical of Saka. And I said, well, the thing is, Saka's one of those players where he might look like he's not really in the game, and then he pops up with a goal. And what did he do? I'd argue he had one of his worst halves of football in that first half.
Not even the first half. At the start of the second half, he gave the ball away 3 times in the first 5 minutes.
But then he pops up with a goal. It's mad, isn't it?
And a very, very, very good goal as well.
Very well taken. So I get why he's... Foot. Yeah, but and ultimately, we were sort of decrying the fact that him and Madueke's availability has dovetailed, and we wanted it to complement each other, and it's so frustrating that it hasn't. So where we're at now, we're going into international break. We have to... I think we need at least 2, maybe even 3 of those players that you've mentioned to come back to really kickstart again, because ultimately... Oh, go on.
No, I was going to say, when we saw the fixture list announced pre-season, and we saw oh my God, look at those 6 games. We've got to go to Old Trafford to open day of the season. We've got to go to Anfield. We've got to go to Newcastle. We've got to host Man City. We've got to host Nottingham Forest. Now, Nottingham Forest at the time wasn't the Nottingham Forest that we've all seen subsequently. And we're like, bloody hell. And then, but then we thought, because we have to try and process that, so we thought, okay, well, this means there's no there's no indecision. We have to go for it. We have to hit the ground running. Yeah. We've got the vast bulk of our signings done and dusted before the first game, and we did start, and it meant there was no complacency, no room for that, and people were writing us off before we'd kicked a ball. And we did really well in that first block of games. I feel similarly now, because I think this international break's perfectly timed for us. Not because momentum. I'm personally, on a personal level, I'd love Arsenal to be playing on Wednesday so we can get rid of this. We can get this Sunderland game or the Sunderland result out of our system a little bit. However, personnel these 2 weeks, but not only that. Look at the week we've got when we return after the international break. Spurs home, Munich home, Chelsea away. Right, there you go. There's no complacency there. None of it's not. No disrespect, but it's not a Nottingham Forest at home. It's not a Burnley.
Well, the game
away.
after that is like Brentford at home. You know what I mean? So.
Right, fine. So now I believe it'll be more than two or three players that will be available for that game. Martinelli and Gyökeres, he seems more. That the mood music seems to be a bit more positive about them being available for that game.
I thought Madueke.
But he also said, but that's just, I'll just pick those two because they're the most recent kind of victims, fallen, wounded in Remembrance Week. But Madueke, we'll dwell on that. Madueke, Ødegaard and Havertz, he has said that he expects them to be available for the North London derby, or that has been spoken. So that's quite. I mean, that'd be huge because beyond those five, who else is there? Jesus.
Jesus is the one.
Who am I missing? I'm missing someone.
No, I think that's it.
Yeah, Jesus is the sixth. We're shorn of six, and that would be. Like fantastic, so long as no one picks up injuries whilst on international duty.
Well, that's the fear, isn't it?
Unless your name is Haaland.
Well, was it you? You told me a stat about Haaland yesterday, and because I was sort of saying, oh yeah, as fan, banter will do. I sort of said, it'd be nice if he twanged a little hamstring or something like that, just to help us out, because Man City are so reliant on their goals. And wasn't it you told me that there's something like on average he misses 8 games a season?
Yeah.
Yeah, which I was surprised at, because for me he's an appearance monster. He's another one of those. But I think maybe his goal scoring monstrosity overshadows the fact that he does maybe miss a handful of games here and there. So. Okay,
so I've just called it up.
Right.
In 24-25, so last season he missed 32 days, 6 games. The season... Oh, no, sorry. No.
Which is neither here nor there.
Right, no. He missed 8 games last season. I was right. I didn't make it up, but I wasn't 100%, but 8 games. So he had 2 separate injuries. He missed 32 days and 10 days, and that equated to 8 games in total.
Yeah.
The season before that, wow, he missed... he had 4 separate injuries in the season before that. He missed a total of 14 games. Oh, one of those international games. For Man City, he missed 13 games the season before that.
Okay.
The season before that, he missed 5 games. He had 2 separate injuries. And before that, then I think he was at Dortmund, and his average is 11. He missed 18 games in 21-22. So he does miss a number of games every. Maybe it's the raw milk.
Well, also it's just a fact of football, isn't it? Players getting injuries,
and the number of games they play.
Number of games they play, the way they push their bodies now. Football is a much more intense game than it was. Players cover a huge amount of distance, lots of sprints. So we're suffering not the most. I saw a sort of list of injuries. I think Tottenham are actually at the top of the sort of injury list table at the minute, but we're up there because of all our attackers.
That's in number of days missed, not number of players, isn't it? Because they've got like Kulusevski and Maddison who are long-termers. And so that kind of, what's the word? Alters the stats a little bit. Whereas we've had, it's the number of players we've had out, but none of them are long. Well, Havertz is kind of couple of months. Jesus is the long-term one. He's the main one there. So you think City will beat Liverpool later?
Yes,
is that the
City at home. Haaland's on fire. Liverpool are, although they've improved in the last few games, I still think there's a fragility there.
But do you know how they've improved? Because they've reverted back to last season.
Szoboszlai, he's class player.
They've got Robertson and Bradley as the two fullbacks, not Frimpong and Gurkes.
And they put Wirtz out for the left, and he's doing a bit better. Which
is interesting because that's a position that Gakpo's been really good at this season. Really arguably their better player.
And they sold Diaz.
Benched.
Who was there?
He's benched, but Ekitike will play there. Now, Ekitike can play through the middle whilst Isak is injured, but he's back training. I don't know, is he in the squad for today or not? I can't remember. So they'll have a few problems in managing personnel if they are all fit, Liverpool. But I mean, I don't want to countenance a win for either team. If Man City do win, they are only 4 points behind us. If Liverpool win, they're only 5 points behind us. If it's a draw, and I will be praying to all of the gods, if it's a draw, the status quo remains, and it's as you were, and that I.
So we want red cards, sinkholes, lightning, thunder, rain.
Well, kind of unrelated a little bit, but did you notice at the start, before the second half started yesterday, Sunderland did a light show?
They did.
And I turned it down and I said, "Oh, power cut, postpone the game, call it off." Because it was at half time. It's like, but yeah.
Alas.
Anything else to say about the game or Arsenal in general?
No.
Arsenal women. You got a bit more to say about this actually than me. I didn't notice it because you told me. Arsenal hosted Chelsea in the Premier League at the Emirates to a crowd of well over 50,000, which is impressive again. And the final score was 1-1. However, there were two incidents, weren't there?
Well, they're bemoaning referees massively because Arsenal had 2 goals ruled out. The first, I don't know which order they came in, actually, because I was just getting text updates, so I can't remember. There was one called out for handball when the ball clearly did not hit Stina's hands. It bounced off her sort of midriff, and then she put it in the net, and it was ruled out, which was so frustrating. And another one where the Lino's flag went up very early to call an offside, which looked pretty much in line. You know, you could forgive a lined person for flagging. Referee's assistant, thank you, for flagging in a pre sort of VAR world, but you know, now with the benefit of TV replays,
you don't flag, do you?
No, that's the point, isn't it? That was the idea.
And I'm assuming, was there VAR?
No, I don't think there is in the WSL.
Oh, okay.
That's the thing.
Well, then, yeah.
So I get it, but at the same time, it looked pretty close. And
in a game that Arsenal absolutely had to win.
5 points, and Chelsea are on this unbeaten run to end all unbeaten runs in women's football.
Yeah, ridiculous run.
Looks like Chelsea are probably going to do it, and Arsenal are
or if not Chelsea, Arsenal are definitely not going to do it.
Yeah,
because I think we're sitting in 5th or something. Sure. We were before the game, 4th or 5th. Okay, I've got a few shout-outs, and I'm sorry, guys, that it's off the back of a dropped points podcast, but nonetheless, thank you so much. And again, Chris is not here at the moment, but he was looking forward to my attempted pronunciations again. Although I think I'm onto a bit of a winner this time. I'm not sure even I can cock this one up. Although I'm prepared to be corrected. So first of all, watching from Nigeria again is Andre Cossack. Hello to you, and thank you very much. Richard Lauder, or Lauder, I don't know. Maybe I've messed that one up, Richard. Apologies. From Burnham on Crouch in Essex. I had to look it up. Looks like a fantastic place. I didn't know. I'd never heard of it. Essex I have, obviously. But deepest Essex, I think you described it as. But anyway, cheers you for checking in with us. And I think my favourite username, tuning in from Tokyo, is Checkmate.
Nice.
So I'm hoping that we can utter checkmate to our rivals at some point this season when the league title is permanently, finally clinched. Oh, that's painful.
Long way to go.
Long way to go indeed. Longer way to go after yesterday's result, but anyway, added 2 more points to the tally we need to get at some point. Anyway, anything else to say? We've got an international break.
Go
on.
I was going to say, just on top of those shout outs, follow us at North Bank Pod on YouTube. Let us know where you were watching the Sunderland game and kind of how you felt on that. If you comment on our YouTube videos or on Spotify, that helps. Makes us a bit more visible, so that's good. Everything is at North Bank Pod. We're on all the social media platforms as ever.
And it is absolutely fascinating to learn where people are getting their art North Bank Pod fix from. Are we a fix now? I don't know. What have we fixed?
Well, maybe this has been a bit cathartic. Do I feel better? Yeah. I'm just tired. The voice is going. Your
face screams no. Your words may betray that.
Outcome bias, that's all. I know we're in a great position, and I'd have bitten your hand off at the start of the season to be where we are now.
Yeah. Even a few weeks ago, even the last international break, you know, think about how we felt trudging away from the Emirates when Martinelli equalised in the 94th minute at home to Man City.
Against City.
Yeah.
Crazy.
We're such an entitled bunch.
Aren't we just?
Love it. And no set piece FC. No. What will the Liverpool fans say? Carragher, where are you? As Liverpool, I have to add that statistic. Liverpool have scored more set piece goals in the Champions League than any other team this season.
Are we going to see the Champions League table without set piece goals? That would be interesting.
Yeah, let's see that. I'm sure.
Come on,
is it the BBC do that? Yeah. And maybe the final stat off the back of a slightly more iffy defensive performance yesterday. In 1999, a footballing year I have tried many times to wipe from my memory.
Bad year.
Arsenal conceded 17 Premier League goals.
Okay.
17. It is still the second best defensive tally in the Premier League behind Chelsea at 15. What did we win in 1999?
Nada.
Nothing. We should have won the double.
Yes.
We lost. Man United won the treble. For obvious reasons, I try and wipe that year from my footballing memory bank. But anyway.
Well, here's a stat. We've conceded 5 goals in the Premier League this season, 40% of which was yesterday. How about that?
Yeah. Excellent. And we didn't when we conceded the goal, we didn't capitulate. I did like David Raya's response though, as the ball was rifled past him. He kind of just statued fell back like that, as if his brain couldn't compute what had just happened. He was picking the ball out of the back of the net. No more working from home, Mr. Raya.
No.
Anyway,
he's very much back in the office.
Have a few days off, recharge the batteries. We'll kick in with a couple of podcasts over the international break. Keep everything crossed that all our players come back as fit and healthy as they left, and the players that haven't gone recharge their batteries, and the players that are injured manage to recover in sufficient time for this really, really exciting but difficult first week back after the international break. At least there's not a lot of travel involved after the international break. At least it's... I think Brazil play at the Emirates, don't they?
Yeah.
So Gabriel hasn't got far to travel, which is good. So Spurs, Bayern Munich at home, Chelsea away. Come on. These are the weeks that we follow Arsenal for. Thanks for listening. See you on the other side. Cheerio. Bye-bye.
See ya. Bye.
The North Bank, an Arsenal podcast. Subscribe, rate and review on your app, and find us on your socials at North Bank Pod. Email hello@thenorthbankafc.com and check out our website, thenorthbankafc.com. Produced by the Podcast Company.